Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and Intel is finally getting there. They're reaching the end of the tunnel here with Intel Arc. Finally, the first dedicated GPU re-entry into the market was finally going to be here. Took them forever, right? Took them forever to get here, but we're finally getting there. And I know they had said we're going to release by Q1. Heck, I think they were supposed to release it originally last year, but now we're in Q3 of this year, and we're finally going to see a card here soon. um, they did release the A380 over in China, and they did that with um, PC builders and manufacturers to have specific systems set up so that they were working within the parameters that they knew they were able to work, which is fine. I think that they should have took a different route, and while they could have done that, they should have really pushed these GPUs out in the market in Q1 as long as that they were hardware functional, and let the users report back bugs so that their software guys could then have pushed forward on the development side of those drivers. That's how I would have done it. Now, I do have a software background. That's what I've done my career, and that's how I would have liked to take advantage of it, especially in a market where the market was starved, and you would have had a lot of feedback in that with people, especially those people that are looking for a GPU like me that are willing to report back bugs. And I'm a big supporter of reporting bugs when bugs need to be reported because that's the only way you really get better software. As a developer, if somebody doesn't tell you about a bug, unless you run upon it yourself, you're not going to find it. So we need that feedback so we can be able to go and get around to fixing those bugs and reproducing them. Now, Intel's going on the media tour, right? They're going around. They were at Gamers Nexus. I saw them at Linus Tech Tips as well, and they're doing legwork to try to get hype up for their GPU. That hype has been wearing off because you're delayed by 2 quarters. That's the problem that they're running into, and they did it wrong. But I think now they've kind of understood because I was listening to them. They're saying, well, now we just need to get it in the hands so that we can find all these bugs. Yeah, that's correct. They did say that their DirectX 12, or DirectX 12 and Vulkan work really well in their GPUs. Anything older than that, it's not really perfected yet, and it's going to take time, right? You're a new GPU architecture. Your drivers have not been focused on gaming and making games work through the lifehood of games here, right? Whereas NVIDIA and AMD have that history, have that back-end library of we've optimized for all these games. Intel doesn't have that. So this is why I kind of in Q1 was saying just get them out there, because if people can get it and tell you, hey, I'm playing this game, a lot of people are playing this game with your graphics cards, that's a great way to say, hey, let's use this. Whereas if you're going off and just saying we're going to just go off these top games here and focus on those, while they may hit some of your market, you may be missing out on who's actually buying your GPUs and what they want to play. That's just another aspect of it as well. So, uh, yeah, I'm glad they're talking about ARC. I'm glad they're getting out there. I'm still cautiously um, hoping that they can bring something to the market that's worth buying. I want to know where this is going to line up with NVIDIA's release. I really do, because uh, I I almost feel like NVIDIA's waiting on their release to then just crush them out of the market. It's just kind of how I feel. NVIDIA would do that. But hopefully that there's there. If it's a good price to performance ratio, Intel's going to hit on this. If it's not, Intel is going to be at a disadvantage because they are new to the market. Now, I'd like to be able to try one out. Heck, even if I were to get one, I'd like to throw it in the kid's computer and try to see how that operates, right? I could even throw it in my main rig if I wanted to. But I figure, you know, let the kids have a dedicated GPU. That'd be kind of cool. Now, they did say that certain settings with their integrated graphics and with motherboard settings need to be set in order for proper to get the best performance out of these GPUs. Okay, Intel is going to have to work with manufacturers then to get certain default settings done, which I think could be a huge benefit, especially if you have an Intel CPU and you can leverage that. I think what Intel and AMD have going forward is that if you have both in a certain system, like both AMD CPU and GPU and Intel CPU and GPU, right, they are going to start leveraging things that NVIDIA is not going to be able to do because they don't have technologies in both. Let's say that you can offload a decode or something else onto the CPU rather than just being on the dedicated GPU. These are all things that you're going to have benefits for going forward. I think that's what they're going to do. Intel seems to be a little bit more pushing it, and that's going to be a good thing for especially streamers that want to do multiple things at once, or being able to communicate better between the CPU and GPU, well, the CPU GPU block and the GPU, dedicated GPU, on that same system, which I'm all for. So it's going to be fun to see. I mean, Intel's new GPU is going to have AV1, so that's going to be a nice encoding standard as it goes forward. Going to be supported here in the future. Hopefully Intel and NVIDIA have it, otherwise Intel does have a leg up there. So these are all things that I think Intel coming out the market would have been great to see 6 months ago, and 5 months ago, 4 months ago. And to do all this, I'm just been, we're at the end of the tunnel. We're finally get it there. They're doing their media tour, and in the end, we want to see where the products are. Let's get the products out there. Let's get them into people's hands, and let's start making a better product instead of sitting on it and hoping that it'll make a endways in the market. Now, they were talking about the next couple generations, right? They're going through the alphabet here, which their naming scheme isn't horrible. I think that need to be ironed out a little bit. It's slightly confusing with your, you have your different tiers, but inside that tier you have multiple graphics card in that tier. That may get confusing here. We'll see, especially if you have 3 cards. Let's say you have 3 tiers, 3, 5, and 7, and then you have 3 inside that tier. Well, now you're starting to get complex cards here because Intel's going to eventually release a 9. They did that with the processors. So, yeah, now maybe they're going to segment these product stacks in such a way that it makes sense pricing-wise, and that could be their relief. But I like their naming scheme, the way the direction is going, right? It's consistent. If they stick to it, A, B, C, D, all the way through the alphabet, and then they'll have, their 3, 5, and 7, and then they'll have their series inside of that. Makes sense. Now, if we don't start, as long as they don't start reusing stuff, it'll make sense. Intel's not always known for good naming schemes, so this is an impressive thing. But overall, I'm excited. It's another entry into the computer world, another entry in there, hopefully lowering prices, hopefully giving more technology, more pressure, more execution, more innovation. All that stuff I really like and I enjoy. So I'm not going to throw somebody underneath the bus for saying, we don't need that, right? We need that. I'm just hoping Intel can execute. I'll throw you underneath the bus if you can't execute Intel on this. And so far, you haven't been able to. Just get the product out here. I said it a while ago. Get the product into consumers' hands. I know your software isn't good, but there's people out there willing to go, and especially if you phrase it right, that this is another product. Not everything's going to work well, but things that do, they work really well. And just get it in people's hands so that you guys, and just tell your users, report the bugs. We want to hear the feedback on the bugs. And then when you fix those bugs and you make good on fixing the issues, you'll earn more credit from us that are using your product and going to recommend that more. So this is more of a video of me hoping that Intel kind of releases it sooner rather than later, and so that it can get into people's hands. Because I get where they want to have a perfected product, but you're in a scenario where you don't have that option because you haven't been in the market long enough to gain all the games that need to be rock solid or need to be improved upon. And you're fighting a losing battle because at the same time that you are delaying this product trying to make the software better and the drivers, AMD and NVIDIA are getting ready to release another generation. With that, let me know what your thoughts are on ARC if you've watched the Gamers Nexus videos with Intel going around talking about it, or even Linus Tech Tips, or anybody else that's been talking about it. And let me know if you're excited, indifferent, or don't care, whatever. Want to buy one? Yeah, let me know. And let me know where you think this is going to go in the market for itself. So with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for taking the time to help support Grow Everlone and helping this channel grow. I really appreciate it. Until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.